Good morning. Hello. My name is Sarah, and I am an addict and a codependent, and I get to talk to you guys today. Yay. Hi, guys. Oh, man, I loved that worship set so much. Just to think of all of the chains that were broken. Thank you. Um, round of applause for Keith. Woohoo. Just all the chains that were broken. I think of when I first walked in the doors and then where I am today. And even if even after I'd come for just a short period of time, I could start to taste freedom and just how awesome it is that we get to be here together tonight on our last teaching Monday of the year 2021. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. So, in case you all don't know, this week is Christmas. Yay! So raise your hand if you guys have finished shopping. Yes, man. All right. Did you guys already wrap your stuff too? Yeah. All right, I'm dropping my stuff off at your house. So I haven't even finished buying the food, and I'm hosting breakfast. So for all of you who did not raise your hands, you are not alone. For all of you who raised your hands, give me your address. All right, so before we begin, let me pray. Lord, just thank you so much for tonight, for just this program, for the opportunity to meet together, to learn together, and just grow more into fully devoted followers of you, Lord, and also just to grow in our faith and in our freedom. So, Lord, I just pray that you open our minds and our hearts to what you have to teach us tonight, and that you just block out any distractions, Lord, because we know that you are immeasurably greater than anything that we could ask or imagine. And so, Lord, we just pray that we can just focus on you tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so tonight's topic is boundaries. And this could be a whole month of topics. And so I'm going to try to boil it all down into how it applies to the holidays this week, because you guys don't need a 4-hour sermon today. That will not be helpful. So let's see. So what are boundaries? These are the lines that differentiate the difference between me and the other people in my life. So it's where I end and the other people begin. It shows me what I have control over and what I don't. So I have control over me and not over the people, places, and things in my life. And Henry Cloud is an expert in boundaries. If you don't know who he is, I recommend you Google him and buy everything he sells. Just kidding. Go to the library, it's cheaper. So Henry Cloud, I saw this great little thing that he did this week. And he said that his favorite way to start the conversation about boundaries is with an image. So imagining your yard or the walls to your house or apartment or your bedroom, if that's all you have control over. You've got your space, right? So you've got that image in your mind that there are lines that delineate your space from everybody else's. And what is inside of that space, you get to control, and you get to decorate, and you get to grow the lawn however you want, unless you have an HOA, and then they control the lawn part, but you still get to control the inside. So, but then the neighbors and the people outside of your space, we don't get to tell them how to do their yard or what plants we want to see when we look out our window, or all these things that we wish we had control over, but we don't. So that's what boundaries are in a picture. So when we set a boundary, we are saying that we are protecting ourselves and drawing a line over the only person and thing that we can control, which is ourselves. We cannot control the other people and what they say and do, but we can draw the line as to how it affects us. So for me, this protection involves not just physical, but also emotional and mental protection. I get to choose how people influence me and who I let to influence me. So just like how on your house you've got a door, you get to choose who you let in that door. You get to choose to close your door. And if a solicitor comes, you get to choose to pretend you're not home. Thank you. I invited her here tonight just to laugh for me. Thank you. But we get to know if someone means harm, I'm going to close the door. I'm not going to let them in. But if someone's coming to help or something and I want to receive that help, I get the opportunity to let them in. And so in Matthew 22, 35 through 40, it says, we're talking about, in this area, we're talking about how Jesus was talking, and then this expert in the law comes up and asks him a question. So in verse 26 it says, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" And Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest command. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and prophets hang on these two commands." So love your neighbor as yourself. In recovery, another way we say this is we can't give away what we do not have, because I can't love my neighbor as myself if I don't love myself first. So by setting those boundaries, that is my first way of protecting myself, by loving myself, because I'm protecting myself from the harm that might be coming in. And setting clear expectations in the relationship so that I can begin to love other people where they are rather than I want them to be. Boundaries define what is okay and what is not okay in my life. And when I just give, and people just keep take, I'm not actually loving them. I'm instead growing resentful at them, getting mad of, why do they always do this when I keep letting them do this to me? And then when I set the boundary, I'm choosing to love them better because I'm choosing to actually love them, even if it doesn't sound like I'm being as nice. Instead, I get to say, this is what I'm able to do, this is what I'm not able to do, and that's it. So how do I set a boundary? As we've established, we're in the week of Christmas. Surprise, if you came in late, it's the week of Christmas. I'm not ready. So this is a time where emotions and family drama and all the things you put in the past start to kind of bubble up, and you're like, where did that go? Oh, that's right. It shows up every December 25th. How did that happen? So we might be seeing people we haven't seen in a year or even 2 years if you didn't see them because of COVID. And some of these people we're super excited to see, like grandma, or I don't know, some of you might not like your grandma, but when I get to see my grandma, I get excited. So, or it might be somebody like some estranged aunt or uncle that you remember why they're estranged. And so these are times that just bring up a lot of emotions. And so for me, I get really easily triggered. I am more prone to react rather than respond. And I find it very easy to slip back into my old behaviors that I tried to stop when I started coming to recovery. So the first thing for me is to identify what I need, where I need to be physically. So this is to not put myself in a place where I'm going to be unsafe or where I can't handle the situation in myself. So this is also where I don't should on myself. If you all have heard that fun slogan, don't should on yourself. Thank you. I was going to give you all pieces of toilet paper. You're welcome. But I always hear, and I used to tell myself all the time, well, I should go to my family's house for Christmas. I should go hang out with so-and-so. I should be doing this. And that's where the holidays get kind of tricky, because we say we should be doing these things, but don't should on yourself, because you don't need to. You don't have to. And if this year and in this season, it's not the safe place for you, it's okay to say, no, thank you. And you can set a boundary of where you're going to be physically. So for me, what that looks like is I told my family where I'm going to be on Christmas, and it might not be what their ideal situation of Christmas is, right? So like my family, their ideal Christmas is all of the kids come home and they all come over and have Christmas dinner, and we unwrap presents one at a time. So it takes 6 hours to unwrap presents, and we have to eat while we're unwrapping presents, then eat again after. And it's this whole thing. It's fun, but it's specifically the place, which is the family house, is something that's triggering for me. So I've decided that's not a safe place for me to go on Christmas at a time where my emotions are high. So I set the boundary of I'm not going to go there for Christmas. So instead, I said to my family, this Christmas, I'm going to host Christmas brunch at my house. Wear your pajamas, bring your gifts, it's going to be fun. But I got to pick the where. And so my house is a safe place. And it's also a place where I can say, okay, time's up, see you later, bye. Gotta go. Next plan's happening. But I get to choose the place. And so it's okay to say, sorry, I can't come over this year, but you can come over to my house or maybe the next day. And so that is another thing with the place. It's something about Christmas Day at my parents' house that's triggering. But if I go there 3 days later, I have no problem. So that's when my brother and aunt and uncle and all are coming. We're going to celebrate 3 days later at my parents' house. Hey. So there's another thing in the Bible. It talks about not throwing our pearls to swine. And if you all have read that, you're like, oh, what? For me, that also has to do with who I'm going to be with on Christmas. So Christmas is a special day for me emotionally. And so that's like my pearls. And if I'm going to bring them to a situation or a place that's triggering for me, then I'm kind of just throwing them away. I'm not getting the most out of the situation. I'm not giving them to people who I can entrust them with right now. And that's okay. Instead, I get to choose, hey, these are different people I'm going to spend my holidays with. And that's okay too. You can do that. It's crazy. You don't have to do everything people tell you have to do. What? That's part of boundaries, guys. Guess what? You're in control of yourself. You're set free. Those chains are breaking. You don't have to do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. You get to be set free from that. Surprise! If that's all you came here for tonight, you're welcome. All right. So next is identifying where I need to be emotionally. So for me, emotionally, this also has to do with how am I feeling? Like I mentioned, the family house is triggering for me. There's actually a period of time early in my recovery where my emotions were super raw. Like they were right on the surface. All you had to do was like glare at me and I'm gonna growl at you and like run you over in the parking lot. So it happened. I didn't run anyone over, but the growling, I definitely did that. So what do I need emotionally? So in that time period, I actually just set a boundary with my family that those conversations, the things with them, I can't actually do that right now. So for a certain period of time, we're not going to talk on the phone or in person. And so it's okay to say, hey, Mom and Dad, sorry, I can't talk to you for the next couple of months. I'm doing some deep inner healing and I need to work on me. So that way, when we come back to this relationship, I can be better. Because I realized all of these hurts that I was lashing out about turned me into a rageaholic. So when I would go home and I'd surround myself with these people, I'm actually raging at them, reacting at everything, and I'm not a fun person to be around when I'm like that. So I get to choose not to do that. Wow. So yes. Then also so another part of setting the emotional boundaries is that we don't have to bend over backwards for our families. So Matthew 12:46-50 talks about while Jesus was still talking in the crowd, his mother and brothers stood outside wanting to speak to him. And someone said to him, hey guy, your mother and brothers want to speak to you. And he replied, who is my brother and who are my brothers? Pointing to his disciples, he said, here are my mother and my brothers, for whoever does the will of the Father in heaven is my brother and my sister and my mother. Here we see Jesus didn't stop what he's doing, drop everything and run because his family wanted to talk to him. That's a boundary he set. He said, hey, I'm busy, I'm doing something, and I'll talk to you later kind of thing. We can do the same thing. And so if Jesus didn't drop everything and run, we don't have to do it either. And someone else's emergency is not my emergency. Somebody else's ideal situation doesn't have to be my ideal situation. And somebody else's problems, I don't have to solve. That's part of the boundaries. What can I control? What can I not control? Somebody else got themselves into a problem, and I want to help, and I'm able to help, then I can choose to help and what my limits are. Those are also boundaries. So like for me, if I find that I'm only a good daughter or sister or daughter-in-law for 3 hours, then I'll say, hey, yeah, I'll come over and hang out for 3 hours because I can do that for 3 hours. But if we reach 3.5 hours, I gotta go. I'm no longer gonna be a helpful person. And if right now I can only do a 5-minute conversation, then I'll say, hey, I'll call you I'll give you some time on Christmas Day. I'll give you a phone call or a FaceTime for 5 minutes because that's what I'm able to do. So doing the best I can with what I got and not expecting more than I'm able to give because I can't do it. Sorry, guys. Just like today, some of you saw my fun video of my son as I let him cry on my doorstep because I had reached the end of being mom. And that's okay. I called in reinforcements, called dad. And that's why dad is not here today, because dad is being dad because mom was done being mom. Sorry, kid, don't watch this video later on. All right, we also get to identify who I need to be with or talk to during these holidays. So Matthew 26, 36 through 38. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, sit here while I go over there and pray. He took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. And I find that so moving that Jesus knew, hey, I'm really upset. I'm in a really bad place right now, and I need to surround myself with a couple of people who I can lean on in this time to support me. He didn't say all 12. He brought all 12 to the garden, but then he only brought 3 with him inside to support him. And so that, for us during this time, might be our sponsor, our accountability team. These might be the people that we say, hey, I need to call you every day in the next 14 days because there's going to be a lot of triggering things, there's a lot of activities going on, and hold me accountable to calling you because I need that support. Or it might be setting up a time to be with them. It might be a special little recovery dinner at your house, and you have your sponsor and your accountability team, and you kick out the spouse and the kids, and you just have dinner. I'm just kidding, they're invited. But thank you, some of you are still awake. Good job, guys. Way to drink the coffee. But yeah, this is a time where we get to choose to be filled back up too. So the holidays don't have to be just a draining time. We can choose to find things that give us joy, and we can say, hey, I need this. And then we can seek out those things that we need and those people that are going to support us. So what do I do if somebody crosses or disrespects my boundary? Well, guess what? Surprise, it's going to happen. Not everybody you know is in recovery, and not everybody in recovery is doing it perfectly, and not everybody is Jesus. So they're going to disappoint us. They're going to let us down. They're going to cross these boundaries. And so we're supposed to forgive them, but we don't have to just say, oh, I'm sorry that you did that, and I forgive you, and keep going. We reestablish the boundary, and then we keep going forward. And because the whole purpose of these boundaries is to build our relationship back up with these people. We're not just saying hey, you're never allowed back inside unless they can never get to a healthy spot. But we're saying, hey, right now, the best way for me to love you is you're going to be outside and I'm going to be inside and I'm going to wave to you through the window. And that's okay. Or I'll call you on the phone while I'm waving at you through the window. But what's crazy, something that I found this week that was super surprising to me was in the Lord's Prayer, it actually says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. So we think of the people wandering into our yard, and we're like, hey, I didn't let you in. They're trespassing. Well, sometimes it happens when they cross our boundaries too. So we forgive them for their trespassing because we're going to trespass on theirs too. During the holidays, it's not just other people who are trespassing. We might be doing this trespassing. And we get to forgive them. We get to reestablish the boundary and keep moving. So there's also been instances in my life where I've had to then set a stronger boundary and a stronger boundary and a stronger boundary. And some people just don't get it, and that's okay. And then we keep setting those stronger boundaries and we keep moving forward. So the story that I'm going to share with you guys about that is a past relationship I had where the person was mistreating me. And I was like, hey, stop mistreating me. I don't like this. This is not how I want to be treated. And they kept doing it. And I said, well, if you keep doing this, then I'm going to leave this relationship and we're no longer going to be together. Well, they kept doing it. I left the relationship and I said, hey, this isn't working out. we'll go our separate ways, like have a nice life. And then they kept calling me and calling me and calling me. So I set the boundary, stop calling me. They didn't respect it, so I blocked them. Because we have wonderful technology nowadays where you can block people's phone numbers. If you don't know about it, I'll show it to you later. But that was something I had control over. I set a boundary, I reestablished it. I set another boundary, I reestablished it. And I did everything in my control to keep myself safe. And if that just means, like, if people just keep disrespecting, it means they're not trying to grow in relationship with me, because instead they just keep disrespecting me. And so I get to see that instead of constantly being hurt. I get to choose my emotions. I get to choose how I feel and how I react. And I can say, no, actually that's not acceptable for me, so see you later. And that's okay. And you can do it with family too. What? Oh my gosh. So it is important to remember that working this program, it works if you work it. And work it because you guys are worth it. Whether you believe it or not, like, you guys are worth it. Otherwise, all the team would not be here. We wouldn't come in the week of Christmas. We'd be out there shopping or wrapping presents or sitting on our couch because we've already done it, apparently. But not me. I would be wrapping. That's what I'd be doing. But we think you guys are worth it. We got so much out of this program, and we come here each and every week to keep giving it and sharing it with you guys because we know that you guys are worth it too. So believe it. Believe you're worth it this holiday season. You're worth setting a boundary. You're worth protecting. And if you need someone to remind you, get a phone number tonight, and then they'll call you, and then they'll say, hey, you're worth it this week. You're worth setting that boundary. And then you could say, hey, this guy said that to me 10 times today. I think I might be worth it. And do that. That'd be great. So where do we start today? What is something today that I can do? So if Christmas and New Year's needs a plan adjustment, don't be afraid to change the plans. Communicate quickly and fully, and you can explain as much or as little as you want. But if you need to change the plans, change the plans. And if you need to make a plan, make a plan. So this might even be, hey, I know that I'm going to go to this situation or place where I know my emotions are going to get kind of ruffled. So maybe I'll bring someone with me. That's one of my safe people. Or I'm going to set a boundary if I can only be there for an hour. Or that I'm going to call someone while I'm driving there and as I'm leaving, because I know that I'm going to need to work this through with somebody so that I'm not, for me personally, raging or reacting or overreacting. And Jeff actually talked a lot about this stuff last week. So if you missed Jeff's teaching last week, go on our YouTube channel and rewatch it or watch it for the first time, because there's a lot of great stuff on there. Also, surround yourself with safe people. Make sure you've got those phone numbers. Make sure that before you leave tonight, if you don't have someone's number, get it. If you need my number and you're a female, I'll give you my number. If you're a male, I'll give you my husband's number. And you will have somebody that you can call day or night. I promise you, my husband answers the phone all the time at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I know some of you who are calling him. I'm just kidding. I sleep through it. I don't care. But you guys, you're not alone. You don't work this program alone. I don't work this program alone. And no matter what, we are all in this together. And so just remember, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So thank you for letting me share.